relationship trying to build a successful business. Now, you all know that it's hard to thrive when there's so much negativity around you. But I never let my daughter see that I was struggling or going through a challenge. Now, in between this photo and this picture here, this is when I had to apply the teachability index. And I'm gonna tell you guys what I mean. When I talked to my upline, who was somebody that I confirmed was trustworthy and who I listened to. So it was no question, was I listening to the right person? I already trusted him wholeheartedly. He had what I wanted. Everything else that he told me to do, I did. I went to the calls, I went to the briefings. I had one suit that you see here and 3 shirts, and that wasn't even my suit. I borrowed that suit from my sponsor. That shirt was the only shirt that I had to my name. Everything else I had to pawn and get rid of. That was my best friend's suit and a shirt that I had on my own. And I wore that suit every day for 6 months. Every day I wore that suit while I was building my business. But in between this slide and this slide is where I had to apply the teachability index. And here's what happened. My situation at home came to me and said, hey, we're gonna find somebody to replace you. We're gonna find a new father for your daughter. You're a bum, not a real man. I mean, any type of mental detriment you could think of, I went through. And if you're on this call, you may be experiencing an internal fight with yourself mentally that's holding you back, right? We all have a different internal battle that we're facing. And I want to talk to you about this because this has everything to do with getting where you want to go. So I remember the teachability index. I said, you know what? I want to be a successful entrepreneur. I want to do this business. How do I do it? And I'm in this unhealthy situation. So I remember what my mentor said to me, and he said, you want to be successful in legal shield, you're at a 10. You're at about a 50 to 60% for what you're sacrificing, what you want. I knew in my mind, the last sacrifice I had to make to be the 10 and 10, only because my environment was unhealthy, was I had to leave that relationship. For some people, that's an absolute no-no. I'm not leaving my relationship. Are you crazy? Why would I gamble that much on myself? Did you guys hear what I said? If I leave my relationship, why would I make that high of a gamble on me? So I said to myself, if I actually leave my relationship, I'm probably going to lose my daughter because she's going to get, I'm being fully transparent with you guys. I'm probably going to lose my daughter. She's probably going to get taken from me. And I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to get her back. I can't afford a lawyer, but if I don't leave, I'm never going to be able to be in a position where I can afford the lawyer. What did I do, ladies and gentlemen? I followed the process, like Mr. Dunbar said. I followed the process. And the process says, who do you listen to? Check. Teachability index. My goal is to be at 10 and 10. I was at a 10, wanting to be successful as a man, and I was at a 3 or a 5 or 6 at what I was going to do for it. So what did I do, ladies and gentlemen? I left the house, I called Mr. Matt, and I said, I'm quitting the business. That's what everybody would do, right? Hey, man, I can't do this. I'm going to get a truck driving job. My mentor said to me, don't quit. Trust the process. And I'll hold your hand. We're going to get through this together. Now, why was I able to have that conversation? Because I was connecting with people who had what I wanted. That's concept number 1. So I went back home and I did what I had to do and I left. I had a conversation. A month later, my daughter was taken from me. At the time, it was the most dramatic, heart-clenching feeling and emotion that a man could go through to have your child who you raised for almost a year plus taken from you. At the time, I couldn't understand how that sacrifice was going to benefit me. And it took almost a year and a half later before I realized that was the best decision I could have made for my life. Because if I had not trusted the process and got my teachability index up where I was willing to sacrifice whatever it took to get what I wanted, I never would have been talking to you guys today, because what I would have been doing is driving trucks for CR England. That was a defining moment in my journey to reclaim my position as an entrepreneur. Now, here I had left the house, but I gained enough access to where I earned custody of my daughter. Now, mind you, at this time, I'm sleeping out of the back of my Dodge Avenger. I left, I was homeless. So not only did I lose my relationship, I lost my daughter, and I lost a roof over my head. So I had to work the business, my entrepreneur venture, to make enough money to pay for a hotel room for me to sleep in when I had my daughter. As you guys can see, I still made sure my daughter had a smile on her face, and I kept her happy, and she did not see me sulking. Now, if you look here, I lost a lot of weight, and that messed with my confidence, because as of now, I was used to being almost $180, $190. I like to work out. Here, I'm like 130. So internally, I'm insecure because I'm not where I want to be physically, which is messing with my mental state, right? So I'm battling all these mental challenges, but what? They're mental challenges. Here, in between here and here, this is where I was beginning to work on my teachability, my training balance skill, my thoughts versus my actions. So because he told me that in the process, I need to spend more time working on how I respond to my visits in between my daughter mentally than emotionally or physically. And what I mean by that is this, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of times when we are on our pursuit for what we obtain, we experience things like disappointment, doubt, discouragement, failure. And you may even be in a situation that you can't change at the moment. But what he said to me is, the only thing that's constant in life is change. So although you may not be able to control change or change your situation, what you can control is how you view or respond to those situations. So I could have sat back and said, man, I'm homeless. I lost weight. I don't have any money. I'm sleeping out of my car. I don't have any clothes. I don't have any shoes. And said, that's why I can't be successful. Or I can choose to say, man, because I don't have those things, I have to go hard. I have to press forward. I have to figure out how to respond to these situations in my life to use them for me instead of against me. So I spent, in between this photo and this photo, we're talking about almost a 9-month period. 9 months. As you can see, my daughter went from what? The average clothes to where I was able to get her first pair of Jordans. I started to take her getting her hair appointment. I started to be able to increase the quality of our lifestyle. See, from the beginning of the slide till now, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about a year time that went by. A year that went by. I'm disclosing my journey to everybody on this call in a matter of a couple of minutes. But this was almost a year of my life of me trusting the process, as Mr. Dunbar said. Here, I'm going back to what? Dream building. But part of laws of attraction at the teachability index phase is to nourish your mind, right? To invest in your philosophies, invest in your thought process. One of the best ways to enhance your belief in that which you're looking to attract into your life while you're mastering these concepts is to actually go touch, smell, and feel that which you desire. Now, I remember specifically, I was dream building. I drove down to a house or a development that I wanted to move into for me and my daughter. I knew I couldn't afford it yet, but I went and I did a walkthrough. This was back in 2017. 2017 coming in 2018 when we went and looked at this new development. Now, ladies and gentlemen, watch this. Some people will say, you know what, Mr. Griffin, I listened to your whole concept, your whole training. I went and did the dream building. It's been a year and I still have not seen that which I'm desiring. We'll get into how you guys can learn more about this later once I tell you about some of the platforms I have. But laws of attraction state that there are 3 primary ways to set a goal, and I'm going to share with you guys how to do that. I was not focused on the time frame of me getting my house because the thought of the time frame injected a negative thought into my mental state, and 1 ounce of doubt and you're out. So because I thought about my goal and my following thought was negative, I knew I wasn't ready to focus on that just yet, but I need to keep it in front of me. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here we sit In 2020, January of this year, my daughter and I just moved into our brand new townhouse that we had built from the ground up. And it wasn't yesterday, it wasn't last month, it was 3 years ago that we were standing in this house saying to myself, baby, I don't know when, but we will get our new house. You will have your own room. It will happen. I don't know when, baby, but I know it's going to happen. And I'm sitting in my brand new house right now with my daughter on our brand new couch in our brand new townhome that got built from the ground up because we did what? We trusted the process. In my car, in the back, in my visor on my Dodge Avenger, we actually have pictures of my dream board. They said, make your dream board, your things that you're desiring to be in front of you. Look at them every day. I did not use the fact that I was sleeping out of my car to be an excuse why I couldn't do what I needed to do. My teachability index, when I became homeless, was at a 10 and 10 every day because I knew that it couldn't get no worse than this. I'm at rock bottom. And when you're at rock bottom, the only thing you can do is do what? Go up. That's the only place you can go when you're at rock bottom is go up. So I said, it can't get no worse than this. Only thing I can do is go up. So I made my dream board visible on my visors of my car. And even if I didn't have gas to go to my appointment or go what I need to do, I still have my visions and my goals in front of me, which kept my thinking parallel to that which I was desiring. Ladies and gentlemen, this is when I hit the executive director position, which was a year and a half later of me getting started in that business. And as you can see here in this photo to the left, I'm still significantly thin. So I couldn't let my weight and my situation hinder me from the process, as Mr. Dunbar said. I couldn't let that stop me. This is when they took me out and celebrated me for hitting executive director for the first time. This is what you call a milestone or a belief check in your journey to show you, man, it was worth it. The sacrifice and the hard work, it was worth it. That photo is a picture of me in my Dodge Avenger. Now, as you guys see, gradually, I started to get my own suits. This is about almost a year and a half, going on 2 years from when I was homeless. It took me a year plus to start getting my own suits and start getting my car, start getting back to my life. Now, if you notice here, I'm still dream building. I'm still going to houses. I'm still going to touch and feel the things I'm desiring to get so that I can increase the chances of my belief in that which I'm desiring. This is when I began to put my work ethic on paper. One of our mentors in the company, Mr. Michael Humes, in the business that I'm in, Legal Shield, he said, your calendar is your paycheck. If your calendar looks like you just brought it, you're not serious about your business. This was my calendar every single month. When I got on my mission, after I made my sacrifices, this was my calendar when I was running for my ring. Every single month looked just like this. That's how I knew that I was on my way to where I wanted to become, because if my calendar was my paycheck, a big payday is coming. What am I doing, ladies and gentlemen? I'm trusting the process. Here, life was increasing. We were able to get some more things and acquire some different experiences and get some more clothes. And as you see my daughter there, we went from a hotel with steps to a hotel with elevators. Now, mind you, I still hadn't got my house. But at this time, on the upper left-hand corner, you see there the suit with the green socks. That was them celebrating me for getting my 7 Series BMW that I earned from the car program in the company. So my Dodge Avenger got repossessed in November of that year. And in 2 months, we went and engaged in an area in Legal Shield called small business. That was really an untouched market at the time. And everybody was telling me what could or could not happen. But I understood that what most people say are facts are opinions because nobody's proven it to be a fact. So therefore, it must be an opinion, right? So I went and took this space and I made lemonade out of lemons. And I went in 2 months, I made almost $10,000 doing small business. And I flew down to Hollywood, Florida, and picked up my brand new 7 Series BMW because of the car program in Legal Shield. After I got my BMW, that was another belief check in my journey. I now had a mobile office that gave me more confidence. Now, mind you, I still had a chance to work on my physical yet. Remember I told you guys I was insecure and it was messing with my mental state. So I couldn't change me lifting weights because I had to fight for my daughter. So I had to become bigger than the problem. So the problem couldn't go away, but I had to become bigger than it. So fast forward, I got my BMW, my business is rolling. I picked up my suit game. Now I get a chance to go out and do some more celebrating. The team took me out in a limousine in Las Vegas to celebrate me, and some accomplishments and things that I had did in Legal Shield and small business. Here is when I just wanted to show you guys, I added this photo because I wanted you to see how small I had gotten. Now, mind you, I'm building my business. The whole time I'm building my company, I'm insecure. I'm not feeling confident about myself, but I knew and understood that the process meant that I had to move forward because some things I couldn't change now. I had to wait, but that doesn't mean that I had to stop my pursuit because in order for me to be able to work out, I had to get to a place where I was able to take care of my daughter and myself enough and comfortably enough where I could focus on going to work out and eat properly. So even though that was something I need to do to make me feel better, I had to wait. That requires doing what? Trusting the process. Now, as you see here in this photo, I started to get some of my weight back because I was able to work out and exercise. And that's me and Mr. Kevin Mack celebrating me getting my first $50,000 ring. As you see here, ladies and gentlemen, I'm still dream building, trusting the process, being consistent. As you notice here, my daughter and I's lifestyle began to change dramatically. Disney World, Live Farms, New York, the Disney farm, right? More luxury restaurants. It's over the course of almost 3 years now, guys. 3 years. But what do you see here? Laws of attraction is not a myth because I showed you guys when I was homeless and you've seen the progression of our life over a 3-year coming to a 4-year span. And this is when I called Mr. Darnell's self, Mr. Dunbar. He is one of the gurus of this. Hey, before I get my ring, I'm letting you know I will be your next ring earner. So go ahead and put me down. Mr. Self being who he is, Darnell Self, he's one of the Milliardaire Club members in Legal Shield, if you're in Legal Shield. He, being the leader that he is, I had so much conviction in telling him I'm going to be the next ring earner that he actually mocked this up before I even got the ring. Now, I was a little disappointed because I wasn't TMV's 67th ring earner. I was number 68. And Robert Dunbar can tell you better than anybody. There's details in the process, but I trusted the process, and I was number 68 on Mr. Darnell Self's ring earner list in TMV. This is the BMW that I got. As you see, my clothes began to increase more. That's my BMW that the company paid for and paid off because of the car program. And that's me celebrating getting the $50,000 ring. This is the Lady of Justice Award and getting some other accolades that I got for being the top producer in small business for a couple years. And I actually brought a picture. I'm going to show you guys this in a second, but I actually got a couple Lady of Justice Awards for being the top small business producer out of almost 400,000 associates for almost 3 years in a row. And it was a tremendous honor because up until I had did that, nobody had ever really conquered small business in that way. And I was very honored to receive my first award in that space. Here's just getting some more recognition and celebration. And this is me putting my daughter in a position where I was able to go from not being able to provide clothing for her, a house, or feed her to putting her in ballet class and her going to her first ballet recital and getting her Lady of Justice Award for her accomplishment. So I just wanted to kind of show you guys that my journey and kind of show you where I was applying some of these concepts that we were talking about when it comes to laws of attraction. So I hope you guys have just kind of a visual of my journey. And now that we've gone over that, I want to go ahead and jump into a few things that we're going to transition towards the latter part of our call. So I talked to you guys about the 5 concepts. Who do you listen to? Teachability index, training balance scale. The one thing that we didn't talk about was the 4 steps. And the 4 steps are the way that the mind will receive, process, and apply information. And when you can visualize the process in your mind, it helps when you're going to learn like Mr. Dunbar said, how to become an entrepreneur. Whatever that may be for you. You may want to open up a transportation company. You may want to open up a cleaning company or a carpentry company or a restaurant, whatever it is. There's a process that you must follow, right? And here is what the 4 stages of the mind goes through when you're pursuing that process. So I'm gonna say them to you very slowly so you can write them down, and then we'll go through it very quickly. So the first step is unconscious incompetence. Unconscious incompetence is the first step. The second step is conscious incompetence. Conscious incompetence. The third step is conscious competence. The third step is conscious competence. And the fourth step is unconscious competence. So what those 4 steps are is unconscious incompetence is when you don't know that you don't know something. You don't know what you don't know. Conscious incompetence is when you became aware that you were not informed or knowledgeable about something. So now you know that you didn't know. Conscious competence is where you have to consciously think about what you're doing as you're doing it. To do what? Create a habit. You have to apply the conscious competence part of the thought process in learning information. And then the last step is where you have solidified, you created a new habit, and that's when you get to the unconscious competent state. That's when you're doing it without even thinking about it. This is how you absorb, use, reabsorb information. Because if you sit back on this call, you absorb all this information, your sponge is going to get full. So you have to consciously go back and read your notes, go apply it consciously at the conscious competent level until you can do it without even thinking. Let me give an example of what I mean. You're born, come into this world as a baby, and you are oblivious to life because you just came into this world. You're an infant. You don't know what you don't know. And then at some point in time, between the ages of 1 and 2 years old, your mom puts this booty or this shoe on your foot. And she says, baby, this is a shoe. You put it on your foot, you wear it so you can walk. Now you're aware that you didn't know there was a such thing called a shoe. Now you're aware you didn't know. Then she sits down as you get a little older. She says, listen, I want to show you how to tie this shoe on your own. So you look at your mom or your dad, and they're showing you how to tie this shoe. Now you consciously have to think about how to tie the shoelace until you get it down into a good rhythm, and you can thus tie the shoelace on your own. You do that at the conscious competent level as long as it takes. And one day, you're going to be able to do what? Be on your cell phone as a teenager or an adult. Be on your cell phone talking to Mr. Dunbar, giving suggestions about the next call. And you get in your car and you're driving to the grocery store. And you sit back and think, I don't even remember tying my shoe. That's because you didn't have to think about it. You did it on a habitual response. It was a habit. That is the process that you can create, or that you create when you're learning new information. And those are the 4 stages that the mind goes through when you're looking to learn or obtain that information that you have learned or been exposed to. And then concept number 5 is master the 4 basics. Mr. Dunbar talked about trust the process and strengthening your mind state. Everything that we do stems from our thought process. Everything, right? So I want to kind of share with you those concepts and introduce you to a little bit more of a breakdown of the application of those concepts on a fundamental level through my journey. Now, 2 more things I want to share, and we're going to go ahead and wrap up, and I'm going to go ahead and connect with Mr. Dunbar. So, remember we talked about the training balance scale. Your thoughts versus your actions. And what I'm about to share may challenge some of the ways that you guys have looked at goal setting or how you may set a goal. But remember we talked about goal setting. And if you ask somebody what your main goal is, they may say, to be an executive, to be a ring earner, to make $50,000, to get promoted, right? Whatever it is their goal, they say what their goal is. And my mentor said to me, what's your goal? I said, my goal is get my daughter back, get my house, and get my car. That's all I'm focusing on. He said, wrong. He drugged this out for 18 days. He said, when are you going to admit that you don't know what your goal is? I said, but I do know what my goal is. I just told you. He said, no, your goal, your first objective, and it is indirectly for everybody, your first goal is to feel good. If you don't feel good, there's no point in pursuing your goal or what you're desiring, because you're walking into it feeling bad. And if you're walking into it feeling bad, then you're going to attract things that make you feel as a reflection of that which you're thinking or feeling. Your first goal needs to be to feel good. He said, if you take an entire swimming pool and you take one drop of motor oil and drop it in that swimming pool, he said, you know, you've now contaminated that entire pool. I was like, wow. He said, that's what the mind is when you look into attract or go for a goal in life. So let me share with you how to properly set a goal, not change your goal, but how to set the goal so that you can feel good and still pursue it. And this is how, ladies and gentlemen, I set my goals when I was homeless to pursuing my situation now. There are 3 ways to set a goal. 1, you can be very specific. You know what? I want a luxury car. I want a black Mercedes-Benz. I want an Alpine wood grain. I want heated leather seats. I want chrome rims. I want an AMG package. Oh, and I want a pearl tint shade in the paint. That's what I want. That's being specific. The second way to set a goal is you could be general. You know what? I don't know what kind of car I'm gonna get, but all I know is I want a luxury car, and I want to feel good when I look in it. I want it to have heated seats. I want it to have nice rims. I want it to have a nice paint color, and I want it to be some type of luxury. I don't know what kind of car I'm getting. Whatever it is, I want it to be a luxury car. That's being general. The third way to set a goal, he said, is where you focus on the feeling of what you want instead of trying to be specific. So what he said was, if you can't sit back and say, I'm going to make $10,000 tomorrow and feel good about it, that's not in your sweet spot. If you can't say, well, I'm going to make a lot of money tomorrow, which is being general, and you don't feel good about it, that's not your sweet spot. He said, so ultimately, one of the best ways to set a goal, if you're not able to feel good about being general or specific, is to focus on the feeling. Now, here I am, homeless, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm thinking to myself, man, I don't believe I can make $10,000, let alone $100, because who wants to listen to a homeless guy with 1 suit, 3 shirts, and my dress shoes that were curled up at the tip, worn off, and talking? Who wants to listen to a guy like that? I wouldn't even want to listen to me. So how am I going to set a goal, right? I can laugh now. Back then it wasn't funny. So here I am trying to figure out how to set this goal. I said, you know what? I can't be specific. I can't be general, but what I can do is focus on the feeling. So I said, you know what? I don't know how much money I need to make or how I'm going to make it. But what I do know is I want to feel incredible about the money I'm going to make. Or when I make this money, it's going to give me the feeling of security. It's going to give me the feeling of confidence. It's going to give me the feeling of me progressing closer to my financial goals. And I'm just going to feel like I'm accomplishing something. Oh, when the money comes in, I'm going to sleep better at night. I'm going to be more relaxed. I'm going to be less stressed. I don't have no idea how much money I make. Whatever it is I make, I'm going to feel good about it. I'm going to continue to feel better. See, I could focus on the feeling of what I wanted from the goals I was setting and believe in that until I can get to a point where I was able to be general or more specific. The reason why you have the 3 different levels of setting goals is because we need to set our goals where we feel good about them. Now, I have some exercises and things that I talk about on my platforms to show you guys techniques and philosophies and ways that you can learn how to get the minutia of these different concepts and how to break it down and apply them. And that's what we're going to talk about before we wrap up. But I want to just kind of introduce you to that. Okay, so Now that I've gone over that, the last thing I want to mention is just entrepreneurship in itself. And to be quite honest with you, there are a lot of benefits that come with entrepreneurship. And there's a lot of textbook things. And, one of the things I love about what Mr. Dunbar and I do is that we're a part of Legal Shield. And right now, 99.9% of entrepreneurship are or stem from making a legal decision. So whatever idea you have to go legalize it on paper somewhere so that you can legitimately make money. So there's a few tiers in business that we need to be conscious of when you're becoming an entrepreneur. The first tier is getting your business license. And again, this is not going to all happen at once. I'm just kind of giving you a breakdown of some of the things that as an entrepreneur, you should be mindful of. Getting a business license, creating a fictitious name for your company, one that can be created as a moving digital extension of you to be able to go and build credit and stability in the company and not your social or personal identity. Now, again, may not be familiar with some of this stuff, but I'm just putting it out there so it can be some seeds that can plant and you can germinate later. You also want to make sure you set up your business, establish your EIN, right? Get that patented or registered in terms of protecting your brand. Because again, when you're in business, you have a brand, you want to protect it. The next step and things I typically recommend people to do is ultimately you want to make sure that you have established credit in your EIN. Very important to have credit in your EIN because it avoids you having to use your social. And thus you build up to a point where your business becomes a standalone entity. Another level to the game is obviously having legal resources, having access to a CPA, having access to a tax attorney accountant to make legal decisions when it comes to taxes. Because I'm gonna tell you something, Mr. Dunbar, I'm sure he's already talked about this several times. You can make $1 million a year. If you don't know how to play the tax game, you're gonna be chasing your tail trying to make a profit. And right now, for every $20,000 that you make in your business profit, looking at paying between $3,000 to $5,000 in taxes, right? So these are just like some fundamental stuff in business that we need to be prepared for. So we're not even talking about you mentally getting into the game. We're talking about you understanding that although there's an illustrious lifestyle behind entrepreneurship, there's still a responsibility that we have to maintain that. And it's a little bit more than just making money and paying taxes, which is why I love what Mr. Dunbar is doing here, because by the time he's finished with this project or whatever he's putting together, he's going to have a blueprint to having somebody come into entrepreneurship, mentally condition themselves, mentally get the textbook information down, and then actually go and build your business. So you're really getting everything you need here on this platform. Now, obviously, there's some other things you want to consider, like should I LLC versus incorporation? How do I pay myself? How do I pay my staff? How do I hire my employees, whether it be a W-2 or 1099? I'm just rambling off some things that are things you want to be conscious of. Why? Because once you figure out what business you want to start, right, you're going to experience some of these things. But the reason why I'm saying this to you guys and not to confuse the delivery of information is this. Some people say, I don't want to fail. Whatever business I get into, I want to put enough thought into it where it's a good enough decision where I can make some money. There is no way to get to Success Boulevard without turning down Failure Avenue. There's just no way. Failure is a part of the ingredient in success. So I tell people that I've been involved in probably about 5 or 6 different business ventures before I landed in the vehicle that I'm in now. Each failure that you experience is you proving to yourself, I'm not afraid to fail forward for that which I want. If you've never failed in life, then that means you haven't tried anything. And to be quite honest with you, my friends laugh because I've failed 10 times more than they have, but I've also lived a more fulfilling life than what they have. Entrepreneurship is about stepping out on faith. It's about gambling and betting on your number one asset, which is you. And the more you invest in you, the more you're going to get out of your business. The more you grow yourself, the more your business will grow. So they go hand in hand. You cannot not personally develop yourself and expect to see an increase in your business. It's a hand-in-hand process. So I hope that kind of put things in perspective. Again, I'm just very honored to be on here tonight and just kind of share with you a brief insight on my journey as an entrepreneur. As I mentioned, a lot of things we talked about tonight, I do have a company that I have called Developmental Sales and Self-Mastery Coaching. And on this platform, we do go into depth about these different concepts and personal growth and things like that. Also within my my consulting company, which the coaching company is under, we also have a platform where we show individuals how to capitalize on how I was able to get a couple of these Lady Justice Awards. So if you have a desire to get into small business and figure out how you can capitalize on that and how you can become masterful and triple your premium production, we actually have a platform where you can come and invest in yourself if you choose to, and get the content and begin to learn how you can position yourself to learn small business. And, you know, honestly, for me, my first ring that I got in Legal Shield, I made about $72,000 that year as a director on 100% personal production doing small business. And this was a few years ago. It wasn't now in the current comp plan. So to do $72,000 as a director on personal production doing small business just shows people that you can get your ring on personal production doing small business, because it's the volume and the premium. And now with the new premium system, it's going to be in a much better position. So on this platform, we help you to enhance the philosophies of laws of attraction and also help you to learn how you can engage and become masterful with small business. So if you have any questions about the coaching content on small business or just the coaching platform or how you can get involved, please feel free, number one, to email me. And I'm going to put my email address in the chat room here. I don't know if you guys, hopefully you guys can see that. So I'm going to put this in here so you guys can have it. Let me see.
Make sure it says there's going to everybody.
Appreciate that, sir.
Oh, there it goes. I see it.
All right. So that's where you can email me if you want to inquire about how to get involved in the small business or that platform. And the other thing I'd like for everybody to do, if you're interested, I do have a YouTube channel. We are remodifying the platform, so you might not see any content when you go there because it's under construction right now. But you know, I'm very honored to say we've hit almost, you know, about 600 subscribers, so I'm excited about that. But again, if you go there and you don't see any content, it's just because it's under construction. We're doing some reformatting. But I definitely want you to plug in, because any major announcements or things that we're doing, you can definitely come on, join the YouTube channel, and get all updates as I post the videos on the YouTube channel. So I'm going to post that here, the YouTube channel, for everybody. All right. So that's the YouTube channel. And so that's it. So again, subscribe to the YouTube channel, inbox me if you have any questions about the coaching platform that I have. And again, I'm just honored and thankful that I had the privilege of being on Training by Dunbar this evening on the pursuit of entrepreneurship. So with that, sir, I'm gonna go ahead and turn the call back over to you. I know you have a few things you want to do to close the call out, but I greatly am appreciative and honored to be on your platform this evening, sir.
Oh, absolutely, brother. And definitely appreciate it, man. Great job. And I'm gonna ask you some questions. I'm probably gonna open it up for some other people to ask you some questions too. But like you said, so many different powerful things. And one of the things I wanted to point out so that people are on the same page. One, guys, don't ever think that law of attraction is hokey. Don't let anybody think that, tell you that, because every book talks about it, from the Bible to the Quran and everything else. They just say it in a different way. They use a different language for that different religion. Even people who believe in science and planets and stars and the people who believe in that, right? No offense to anybody's belief. All of those different beliefs all believe in you get what you put your mind on, but they just all say it differently. So when you have to ask yourself at some point, right? Because we all adults, right? You got to ask yourself at one point. There have been wars behind religion because of the disagreements. So how can you find so many disagreements that there's war, but all the religions have one thing in common, that they believe that if you think about what you want and put your mind on it, you'll get it. So it's not hokey, guys. It's reality. It's real life. So I want you guys to focus on that. And I want you to focus on something that Mr. Griffin said when he talked about not having precise goals. because we did a training with called SMART Goals, where one of our main trainer then was Sharanda Ivy. And a story for me is this. You guys know I was running for my 150K ring. Well, I am running for my 150K ring. And of course, my date was April. So, you know, I looked at my numbers in April. It's May now. I looked at my numbers in April and I missed. But guess what I found out when I was getting my taxes prepared? That I made over $150,000 in the last 12 months. It just wasn't all in Legal Shield.
Ooh.
So you see the big deal here? So
yes, sir.
What do I need to do? Let me tell you what the problem was. The problem was I had 150K all over the place. On my whiteboard, on my mirror, on my phone screen, but I didn't say I wanted to make it specifically in Legal Shield. That's why I didn't get the 150K ring, but I made $150,000. You guys follow that? So your brain does exactly what you wanted to do. So when I said to myself, well, how did I do that? You know, my brain said back, you ain't tell me that's where you want the money to come from. You said you need the money. You ain't tell me why. You ain't tell me where. You said you wanted the money. Does that make sense? So really, it's just about setting specific things. When you set your mind to do specific things, your mind will do it. That's why we're going to continue that. We're going to continue to train your brain series, because guess what? It's just so much to talk about that you can't get it all in. But just keep things like this in mind. You know, and we're going to talk about this next week. On average, you check your phone about 400 times a day. About 400 times a day, you pick your phone up and you do this. And guess what? Most of the time, it's about habit. It's not even because there's something going on your phone. Not because you got a text, not because you got a notification that dropped down, not because you're waiting for a call, not because you're checking on one of your children, not because you're checking on your elderly parent, but because by habit, you grab the phone because it's addictive. Instagram says the average user checks their phone and checks Instagram 150 times a day. Why am I telling you this? Because if you write down your individual goals and put them precise and put them on the screen of your phone, you are forcing yourself to look at your dreams and your goals between 150 and 400 times a day. Plus, you're going to see them on your mirror. Plus, you're going to see them on your whiteboard. Plus, you're going to see them in your vehicle. And if you have any kids and you share your dreams with your kids, believe me, your kids will share them back and they don't even understand what they're doing. All of these things work in your favor, but you've got to work it in that position. So a couple other things. So your calendar is your boss. So Milliadaire, like, tell me how your income, your process, your success changed from just, I got stuff to do every day, to having a calendar that you roll in to keep yourself accountable and make sure that your calendar was being your boss, or your calendar controls your bank account. If you can mention that.
You know, that's so funny, Mr. Dunbar, because you know how influential Mr. Self and his wife are. And Miss Self did a training call one day, and she was saying that people say I have to do time management. And that is true. But regardless of how you manage your time, there's only 24 hours in a day. So you can move around how you want, but you only get 24 hours in a day. And really, you're not going to work 24 hours a day. It's physically impossible. You have other things you have to do for yourself. Then they go from, well, I got to get my priorities in order. So you might have to do some things here and then do your priorities. When you are in complete alignment with that which you're desiring, you shift from those two statements to yourself to, I have to now prioritize my priorities. So for me, everything was important. I just now had to figure out a way to map it out on my calendar where I could see that my primary focus was that which I was desiring and not that which I was doing on the sidebar. So for me, I'm just a writer. And as you spoke about this, people that use technology and things, that's great. But there's a proven fact, there's only 36 keystrokes when you're typing. So the ability to create what you want when you're typing is significantly reduced, opposed to when you're writing your calendar, which has over 10,000 gestures and hand movements. When you're writing your goals out, when you're mapping it out, you have to constantly go back and update them, right? On a keyboard, there's only certain strokes and things. When you're writing, you have more emotions to create that which you're desiring. So for me, I knew that I was creating that which I was desiring, the more I filled my calendar up. Because not only was it visual, I was now making it practical. So it became a challenge subconsciously for me. If I saw a gap in my calendar, then I'm like, man, you can see if I don't hit my goal, here's why. So it really shifted me from going from blaming somebody else to taking full responsibility for why I wasn't getting where I wanted to go.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. So let me ask you another question here. So how do you feel about, because last week I trained on neutral thinking.
Yes.
Neutral thinking being, we believe in positive affirmations. I had Darlene Quincy on here to go over positive affirmations. She gave 100 affirmations PDF. I believe in that whole system, but I also know I'm also learning as a trainer because I have a coach. I'm learning as a trainer that you have to continuously train for everybody. And I started looking up neutral thinking and negative, the power of negative thinking, right? For those that missed that training, that was last week, the power of negative thinking, right? Because some people don't know how to think positive. They've been through so much, they haven't taught themselves. So it's like me saying, okay, Milliadaire Griffin, let me look at the pictures that you put on the screen when you were skinny and wasn't working out because you was dealing with stress, you was trying to raise your daughter, you was having a hard time. Okay, let's go to the gym, Mr. Griffin, and let's start with 300 pounds. Let's start with 300. I promise you, Mr. Griffin is not coming back tomorrow because that's too heavy for him to start. So when we talk about neutral thinking, it's great to say, hey, you know what, guys, let's get up in the morning. Don't check your cell phone. Put all your goals on your mirror. Let's do 100 affirmations when we get up. Let's listen to our religious material. Let's go out there and get it. If I stub my toe, act like it didn't happen and just scream yes and run out the door. That's a reality, but not for everybody. Some people have been abused. They've been molested. They've been verbally abused. They've been a failure all their life. Their parents told them that they wasn't no good. They supposed to them they wasn't no good. And now you telling me when I get up in the morning that I need to be positive, but I'm 40 years old and for the last 39 and a half years, my life has been crap.
Yeah.
So we got to figure out a place for that person to go and say neutral thinking and say, look, this is where we gotta put the car in neutral before we can go forward because we're going backwards right now.
Mm-hmm.
And see, this is what we talked about. So the affirmations are a big deal, but the question is, right, if I can't do affirmations, what can I do? And the answer was stop thinking negative. So the example that Trevor Moawad talked about was, if you eat a bag of Doritos at 9 o'clock in the morning, and now throughout the day, you're trying to balance that bag of Doritos out by saying, well, I'm gonna eat some salmon for lunch with some vegetables, and then dinner I'm gonna have some black rice, and I'm gonna have some kale, and I'm gonna drink water for the rest of the day so I can balance out that. And see what Trevor Moawad says is, no, how about you just don't get up and eat the damn Doritos, right? So now you're not playing catch up when you get up. And see, that's the problem. We get up, we playing catch up. So how do you feel about affirmations? I believe in them. I'm a strong pursuit of them. I say affirmations. How do you feel about affirmations, and did they help you in the journey that you have here?
Well, Mr. Dunbar, it's funny. And if you can just give me like 2 or 3 minutes, I want to share this because this is so powerful what you're talking about right now. Because even if you're lacking in everything else that you need to do, if you start your day and end your day with this right here, you will see a significant difference in your day, because even though you're not directly thinking about your goal the way you want to, you're still putting the positive energy out, which only means you can attract that back. So give me 1 second. I want to show you something, Mr. Dunbar. Princess, can you get that book for me? My daughter's been sitting here, you guys, watching me do this interview. So I got my buddy hanging with me.
Hey, but you know what though? That's what wealthy people do, brother. Guess what she's doing? She learning already at this age, right? Look, though, I'm not gonna be surprised when she's 15 years old with a YouTube page with 10,000 subscribers. Come on, man.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that right there, man. That's it. All right, so Mr. Dunbar, one of the things I like about what you said, and when you say trust the process, ladies and gentlemen, there are fundamentals that every successful person, at whatever tier they deem it to be, is doing. Mr. Dunbar talked about affirmations. These are mine. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 pages of affirmations I read. Well, the goal is to read every single morning and every single night. Now, Mr. Dunbar, one of the things that I want to say is I wanted to know what was actually happening in my mind because I'm more of a practical guy. So I went and got a book. And the book said that we have in our, and I'm not trying to go left field, guys, but I want you to be able to have this visualization and know what this is doing for you. Even if you think it doesn't make a difference, I want to show you what it's actually doing to you physically. So when you have a challenge or you wake up in the morning, you have something called neurological pathways that go through your mind. Like it's a proven fact how the mind works. And when you wake up, your thoughts flow through these neurological pathways that you have created over your last 20, 30, 40 years of living. So naturally, when life hits you or when you have a thought, they're going to flow through these pathways you've already created. When you read your affirmation, you are now creating what's called a new neurological pathway. And these pathways are connected by dendrites, which then form the neurological path. So every time you read your affirmation, you are connecting a new dendrites that will form a pathway into your mental state or your brain, if you will. And this is a proven fact. It's a book called The New Cybernetics. It's one of the books that started touching on it along with some other things. But I read the books. I wanted to understand what's actually happening. So the more you read this, eventually you're going to create a new neurological pathway. Now, once you complete that neurological pathway, because it's connecting from the whole anatomy part of the body, but it's connecting from here to the neurological part of the brain where it creates a pathway, it's very small. And once you create that pathway, you have to spend your time at the conscious competent level where you wake up and you consciously think about what you need to do, pick up my affirmations, and I need to read them. You have to consciously do it. Every time you spend your time at that level, you are now widening that neurological pathway to where it becomes wide enough for information and thoughts to flow through it. If you don't spend much time widening that neurological pathway, nothing's ever going to pass through it, which is why affirmations are so important, because it begins the creation of the new thought process of that which you're looking to develop, to begin to create that which you want, right? So I just wanted to share that because I was just curious as to physically what difference it was making by reading my affirmations every day, aside from me knowing that something was happening. So I don't know if that helped anybody, but I know it helped me because every day I didn't read it, I'm thinking, man, I haven't spent any time intentionally widening that neurological pathway so information can actually flow through it. So I need to spend more time doing it so I can get something out of it, right? So again, Mr. I didn't mean to elongate that, but I just thought that would be a visual for people to be able to visualize what's actually happening when you do something as small as reading your affirmations daily.
Absolutely, brother. And guess what? I say it all the time. You cannot increase what you do not track. And you cannot decrease what you do not track. So it's like anything else. If I get on a supplement because I'm working, I get on a supplement for 60 or 90 days, and then I get off of it. I get off of it to see what the difference is. If it's not doing anything, then I stop it. I don't ever get back on it. If I see a difference after I stop using it, then I start using it again. You got to give it that trial run. So when I started using collagen, you're right, I saw the difference in my skin. I saw the difference in the strength of my nails. And I said, oh, but I got to make sure that it's not a placebo effect, right? So then I stopped using it for about 60 days, and I noticed the change back. So I started back using it. Now that's what I use. So it's anything else, guys. If you do not track it, you cannot increase it or decrease it. So I'm glad you brought that up. So that was really killer, guys. I promise you, we're about to end in 5 minutes. Please don't be mad at me. What time is it? 10:30. 5 more minutes, guys. You guys have been hanging out with us the whole entire time. I appreciate that, guys. But we want these trainers to be like, we want you guys, especially for those that's going to bed a little bit after this. I want to make sure that you guys are getting information that's not just always a three-way call, or how I get more customers in my tax office, or how do I get more personal training customers, or how do I sell more houses as a realtor. No, I want you to understand what being an entrepreneur is. And you don't necessarily have to go for a 2-year program in a college to get that. So I just want you to have somewhere to be able to come get it so that you can run your business successfully and be in a place that, man, like, because I know we stopped dreaming. Right, I promise you, I'm gonna go ahead and get closed out here. I'm gonna let you guys ask a couple questions. I'm gonna close out, but like a lot of us guys, we dream, high school, first couple of years of college, we dreaming, and then, boy, I'll tell you, life happens. You get married, you have kids, you buy your house, and life happens, and it's like, you know what? You stop dreaming, and you're like, okay, this is okay. This is okay. No, drive what you want to drive, put your kids in whatever school you want to put your kids in, and have a recession-proof business. I got 2 businesses running, and guess what? This epidemic that's going on, whatever they call this thing, I got more done during this epidemic than I was before. I'm like, I don't know whether I want to open up or not. Because I'm just telling you guys, you got to put yourself in a position that when anything happens, that you don't fall to the bottom when it happens. Whatever comes your way, right? It's like a surfer waiting for a big wave. What are you doing? You're waiting for the big wave. That's what you're out there for. You go out there to get the big wave so that you can surf as high as you can. I want a big problem so I can go. I'm waiting for a big problem to happen. When I come out of my house, I'm waiting for something big to happen. I don't want it to be small. I want it to be a big deal because I know if I'm dealing with a big issue, I'm gonna have a big result and it's gonna help me accomplish big goals. And I know I'm gonna be in another place when that's over with. So glad you was able to answer that question right there for me. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna open it up for some questions. I just want you guys to see real quickly who won the books because I know I told you guys I was giving away a book and I want to make sure you guys know that we actually giving those away. So I know Miss William Haynes, congratulations if you're on the line. Miss William Haynes, she actually won the book for Conquer Fear. She won a book, Conquer Fear. So congratulations to William Haynes for winning Conquer Fear. I spoke to you already. I am going to be getting that shipped off to your house. And of course, we talked about last week, It Takes Whatever It Takes by Trevor Moawad, author, him and Andy Staples. You can get it tangible or audible. And guess what? I'm giving a copy away. And the winner is, and it's funny because this lady been really moving the group. She was on the BDB call last week. Miss Jody out of Wisconsin, you're the winner of this book. It Takes What It Takes. It's going to be a great book for you to understand really the concept of knowing, hey, be a neutral thinker, right? Be a neutral thinker. If you haven't learned how to think 100% positive, be a neutral thinker and understand that, look, when something is what it is, that's what it is. And the only way for you to deal with that challenge is for you to agree that it is a challenge. So I wanted to real quickly let the people know the winners of those books. Again, Instagram, Facebook, follow us. YouTube as well, follow us. That's Mr. Griffin as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up here for a couple of questions. If anybody has any questions, I'm gonna allow you to unmute your line. So let me do that real quickly over here. I think I'm gonna do it real quickly over here. Hold on. I'm trying to get it so you guys can unmute yourself. Hold on. Boy, so many buttons on this thing. I can't keep up with it. There we go. Okay. All right. Allow participants to unmute themselves. All right, so if you got a question for Mr. Griffin or myself, go ahead and unmute yourself. Preferably a question for Mr. Griffin since he's the guest trainer.
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead. Floor is yours.
Hi, Mr. Griffin. My name is Philip Young. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. And Milliadaire, you muted too, Milliadaire. I'm gonna unmute you real quick.
Thank you. There you go. I'm sorry about that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I'm also in Legal Shield I'm also a Legal Shield associate, and you shared your incredibly humbling story, and I just wanted to know from you, like, what were you thinking about aside from your problems with being homeless, having your car repossessed, losing custody of your child? Like what was the thing that just kind of like really just ignited you to like maximize your productivity to meet your goals in Legal Shield? And the reason why I asked that is because like I feel like I could be doing more than what I have been doing in Legal Shield, because I want to rise up in the business.
Yes. Well, honestly, it's a simple answer, but it may not be so simple for some people because it's a mental thing. But I just got into a habit because I've been trusting the process that I was taught and still applying and learning. Whenever those situations happen, I had a decision to make whether it was going to be a good thing or a bad thing. Because my mentor said to me, there's no such thing as a bad thing. We make it bad, we make it good. So I could sit back and say, hey, all these things that are happening are bad. I could say, you know what? I don't know how this is going to work out to my benefit, but somehow it's going to work out in my favor. I'm blessed. Things always work out for me. And I chose to spend my time at the conscious competent level, continuing to repeat that affirmation to myself every time I hit a stumbling block in my journey, like losing my daughter, being homeless, the different things I encountered. I chose to intentionally put my effort with me thinking about it into how I'm responding to each situation so that I could use it to work for me instead of against me. And that's really, honestly, aside from me praying, the work piece, that's all I did. And people say, no, there's gotta be more. No, that's really it. I chose to focus on it working out to my benefit, and I chose to focus on the feeling I wanted, and I didn't care about the time. All I knew is I had to keep saying that to myself, and it would always, almost sometimes instantly or sometimes by the end of that day or the next day, I would attract a person, place, or thing that gave me a matching feeling of me feeling good and making progress. As a matter of fact, to be transparent with you, it took me 6 months to get my first membership. It took me a year to get my first business partner. People say, well, how in the world you be that patient? I said, well, here's the thing. I could have quit, but I wasn't focused on the time, because I read the book 3 Feet from Gold, and I said, you know what? It's going to be at that exact moment that I quit that my next exposure, my next no was going to lead me to my next yes. So instead of me looking at my time frame, I chose to focus and trust the process, like Mr. Dunbar said, and I kept doing it. And if I quit, because it took me 6 months for my membership or a year to get my associate, I would be blessed to be on this call, Mr. Dunbar, today, and be talking to this 100-some people that's been on this call today. You know, so really that's all I did.
Wow. That's wow. Everything you said is just been like a golden nugget. Is excellent. Yeah, I've been exposing 2 people a day. I still haven't gotten a yes yet, but I feel like I'm getting closer.
Well, if I could make a suggestion, I will tell you one thing that Mr. Mack, my mentor, said to me is that you're not doing enough volume. When we talked about teachability index, I was at a 10, want to be successful, but I was only putting about 30% effort into my success. When I looked at what he said I need to be doing on a daily basis and what I was actually doing. So if you talk to whoever your upline is, whoever your support system, they say, hey, here's your daily number, and they say 10 and you're doing 2, and you're putting 20% effort into your desire to get better at your business. And it's not to be harsh on anybody, but it's a really good reality check to say, hey, you don't want this as bad as you're saying. And that was where I chose to sit back and say, man, my calendar looks like I don't want this. My calendar looks like I got plenty of money in the bank. It looks like that. But that was deceitful to me. So at some point in time, we got to take responsibility and say, hey, I'm not working like I want this. And that was the 10-second miracle for me.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, I have 2 questions. One,
And let us know who you are real quick first, so we know who's speaking.
okay, my name is Adolph Mayo from Jersey City, New Jersey.
Yes, sir.
And my first question is, what is your why? And my second question is, how do you plan your day?
Well, my why has changed. So my why now is to be an example for my daughter and my family, to help at least, my goal is at least right now, what I can believe in, to help at least 12 people to make 6 figures in Legal Shield, to create a platform where I can play a part in helping people become better versions of themselves, which is obviously what Mr. Dunbar has actively put in place. Then the last part of my why is to honestly contribute to society. I want my success to be a result of the amount of people that I'm contributing to in terms of their personal growth, not just financially, but internally. So those are my 4 reasons why now. And then I missed the second part of your question.
The second part was, how do you plan your day?
I plan my day the day before, or I plan it the week before. And every morning I wake up, I do my morning prayer. I read my scripture. I read about 20 minutes or so of my books. I do my affirmations and I sit close with my prayer. That's the first thing I do every morning before I do anything. And to me, it's just as important how we start our day as how we end it. So as long as I do that, I don't really worry about my day so much because I know I've accomplished something already. So I've already got one thing checked off. So I start my day off doing what I need to do to make me feel good. And then everything else, I just go to my calendar and I execute. And if I don't get everything done, then I move it to the next day. And I make sure I end my day the way I started it.
Awesome. I said that's awesome, because I remember Darnell Self was saying, when you wake up in the morning, you have to set the atmosphere. And when you set the atmosphere, you know, and create the atmosphere within your home, you can function better. You can start the day off smoother.
Yes, sir.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, so what is the name of the book that you you mentioned? It was something about It Takes What It Takes. Is that the name of it?
Yes, It Takes What It Takes by Trevor Mowat.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, Trevor Mowat is last week on last week's call. A lot of the stuff I talked about are theories. It's not theories that he created, but it's theories that he promotes really more than anybody else does. And that book is this newer book, and it's a really excellent book. I have the audio. I've listened to it about 4 times, but it's a really good book on neutral thinking and getting you to understand. Because some people, and I'm gonna say this real quick, some people are so much of a positive thinker that they're unrealistic. And the end all that is this: if I have cancer, right? And if anybody on the line has cancer, then my condolences on that. But if I have cancer, if I tell myself that I don't have cancer because I'm saying, oh, I'm not gonna receive that. I'm not gonna say I have cancer. But then when do I go to the hospital and get treated for my cancer so I can get a cure? You can't be so much of a positive thinker that you're lying to yourself. You have to think positive, but you got to know what your reality is. My reality is I run out of money before I run out of month. I can't be sitting up talking about, oh well, God gonna make a way. No, he making a way. He
Right.
gave
Right.
2 arms, 2 legs, so you can figure out how to make more money. You can't make less money than you're supposed to and then say I'm gonna pray for the rest of the money. That's not the way that works. So you have to say, okay, this is my reality, and this is how I'm gonna deal with my reality. And that's what makes us all better. So his book talks about some of that, some other things, but it's a really, really great book. Thanks for the question.
Mr. Dunbar and Mr. Griffin, this is Clarence Gall. And what I wanted to ask you was, when you said a statement like, if you cannot track it, what was the second part of that?
Oh, you can't increase it or decrease it. So
okay,
if I don't track my numbers, like when I was running for my 50K ring, I was running for my 100K ring, I had to track my numbers every day because it's course correction. And a quick solution to that is this: if I check my numbers once a month and I'm off by $1,500, that can be depressing. If I check my numbers every day, when I'm missed by $35, I can make that up tomorrow. I can make $35 up tomorrow. If I realize I'm $1,500 behind, I may say, you know what, I can't do this. Let me just reset all my goals. And then the same thing on decreasing. When I started to lose weight because I was on the fitness program, not really a program, but just changing my lifestyle. I still do this now. I track what I eat. I have a food scale in my house. I got measuring cups in my house. I measure what I eat. If I'm cooking chicken, I put it on my food weight to make sure if it's a pound, I know how much protein that is. I know how much carbs that is. Now that might be tedious for somebody, but if you're trying to get in shape, then you do what you need to do. So I have to track what I'm eating and track my calories and track my sugar to make sure that I'm doing less or at a caloric deficit was what they say in this industry, caloric deficit, if I want to lose weight. I can't be 44 years old trying to go from 247 to 200 and say, I'm just going, I measure everything, right? I have to actually measure and track what I'm eating to decrease what I'm eating. So I can say, I'm going from 2,500 calories a day to 2,000 calories. And then I'm gonna make sure I burn 800 calories in the gym. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I appreciate it.
Yeah. If I don't track, if you don't track it, you want to increase it. If you don't track it, you want to decrease it. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah. Anybody else with a question? Going once. Going twice.
Wait, I have a question.
All right, go ahead. Yeah, floor is yours.
This question is actually for both of you, and thank you so much for. Oh my God! By the way, this is Carmen Guzman in Dallas, Texas. Thank you so much, Mr. Dunbar and Mr. Griffin. So the question is, when you're looking at your numbers, what portion of your success do you attribute to personal development and then business development? Well, what does that look like?
You want to hit that first, Milliardaire?
Oh, yes. Honestly, more of it goes to personal development because your business development will result from the knowledge you learn. So you got to engage in that learning process or that learning curve to be able to know what to put in your business. And that always is a constant. Your personal investment monetarily may not be greater, but time-wise should be equal or greater. Because in business, each new challenge that we face requires a different response, especially if it's new territory and a territory you've never been in before. So if you have a problem that comes up in your business, you never faced it before, you can't continue to build your business and ignore it. That's like building a skyscraper and you're missing, you get to the third floor and you realize you're missing 3 beams on the first level. You wouldn't continue to build it, right? Because it's going to fall down. So that's essentially the same concept that we look at when we're looking at knowledge versus textbook when it comes to business, because everything is going to result from our thinking. And that's the one part that people try to avoid. And just being in small business over the years of me talking to business owners, most business owners just want a shortcut to get what they got to get done in their company. And they shortcut their way all the way back to where they started because they haven't actually addressed the root of the issue because they said they didn't have time. So for me, Mr. Dunbar would not have been able to sit back and say, hey, I want to get 100, 200 people on this call and just say, hey, that's going to be my goal and not put a conscious thought effort into how we're going to actually build or do the legwork to get to that point, right? So he had to acquire the knowledge, then go apply it, acquire the knowledge, then go apply it, So that's just my take, on the process of building the business that I have had and the administrative part behind that. It's 80% business, 20% show. And that's absolutely true.
Absolutely. So in my response to that video, so you really asked the tricky question, and that's good that you asked that question. So because what you're gonna do now is you're gonna get me to tell you a hack, right? So what's the hack to if you ran into a genie and they said you only got one wish, what would you wish for? So we all know that a hack to that question is I will wish for more wishes, right? My one wish, I'm gonna ask for more wishes so I can have as many wishes as I want. Well, it's the same thing here. Mindset and personal development. If I had to choose what would be the ideal thing to concentrate on more than anything else, whether it be just those 2 options, or if you gave me 10 options, it's gonna always be personal development. Why? Because if I personally develop myself, I'm gonna do the other things anyway. So if I need to know about business, getting personal development is going to develop me personally, and then I'm going to go learn more about business. So if I get really sharp in a skill set, but I don't have personal development, I'm gonna have a ceiling over my head. If I do personal development, sky's the limit because everything else is going to fall in place because I did the personal development. So it's like I heard one of my mentors say some time ago, when you have a family, if you married with kids, like I don't have a wife, I live by myself, I don't have those things going on. But for those that do, if you have a spouse and kids, when you're setting your calendar up because you're busy, always go to your spouse and your kids and say, hey, look, what do we have for this month so I can put it on my calendar because I'm gonna put all my other things around that. You want that on your calendar first because it doesn't help you to be successful if your wife or your husband is leaving and they're taking the kids with them. It's not gonna help you. So you always put them on your calendar first, and then you build around that. Now, when somebody says, hey, are you available on Wednesday at 3 o'clock? You say, well, you know what? I can't do 3 o'clock because my son has a soccer practice or basketball practice or whatever. And you already have that on your calendar. So now you're just not available. Guess what? It's no different than if you would have had another appointment at that time. That slot is already filled. So just keep in mind when you're making those choices and you're saying, hey, look, what should I be doing first? The first thing you should be doing is working on your mind. Because once you stretch your mind, the ideas, all the other things that'll come, like you'll grow to a level that's like, it's just not even something you would ever imagine. And your spouse and your family, they'll see the changes that you made because of the personal development, and all the other things will come because you got personal development. So that's always the most important thing you should be doing is personal development. Treating yourself with positive educational things to really build you as a person. That will be my answer to that question.
Thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. All right, guys. So look, we appreciate you guys being on. 2 hours. We've been on here basically 8 minutes away from 2 hours, and still 83 of you guys on here. So I'm super excited. I'm gonna be excited to be able to stretch this for more than 100. And the platform is at 100, but this was playing live on Zoom as well. I mean, on YouTube as well. So on my YouTube channel, this whole entire thing has been playing live the whole time. So if you ever can't get in, if you try to get in and it's full, you can always go to my YouTube channel and it'll be playing live there because I do that every week. So just make sure you go there if you ever run into that situation. But we appreciate you guys. Next week, guys, we're going back into training your brain on session number 3. And now I'm going to show you how to make some money, right? By training your brain. I'm going to show you how